He lives the life that I want to live. The guy's traveled to 30 countries.
I prepared for GMAT because I was at 6.5 years of work ex, it did not make sense to do a 2 year anymore. I was born in a Telugu family. So my target was always IIM A.
What was your package after you graduated?
I realized cooking is a very big skill to have when you're abroad. So I learned I cook very nice food. I have to manage my content and then create content. And I am also on TopMate, so I take a lot of mentorship sessions. So I don't know how I'm managing. People associate CAT with IIMs, but that's not the case anymore. GMAT is also there if you want to do an MBA at IIM Ahmedabad. Like if you're rich and if you're Indian, India is the best place. I did my articleship at KPMG, so I got a 7 lakh scholarship. I don't want to become an IAS because then I have to listen to somebody who's not even that educated, the politicians. Like I don't want to do that.
क्या बोल रहे हो यार? Welcome, everyone. It's great pleasure to have Anirudh on the call. He lives the life that I want to live. The guy's traveled to 30 countries. And I'm like, every morning I wake up and I'm like, telling McGlady, मेरे को London दिखा दो यार phone से." And that's my travel. We did that yesterday when he was showing me London on his phone. So, welcome. And Anirudh, a lot of our viewers would also be interested to hear that you did the 1 year full-time MBA at IIM Ahmedabad. And most people do the 2 year full-time MBA. Executive MBA. I haven't heard of this new combination of the 1 year full-time MBA. We also want to hear from you about your startup where you showcase people making handmade products out of concrete. We want to hear about your experience and that you're working for in a founder's office at a unicorn open financial technologies. I want to hear about that. And then also that you worked for years a long time after becoming a chartered accountant at KPMG Sweden. How was the experience working in Sweden? What made you come back to India, do another MBA in India, and then stay back in Bangalore and not move back to Europe again? And so, a very interesting person, and that you're also a content creator. So, we have a lot to cover in 1.5 hours. So, let's get started. Let's get started with where did you grow up? How was growing up like? Please tell us more, Anirudh.
Yeah, thanks Vex and Mix for inviting me to your channel. It's a privilege. Uh, so maybe I can start with my childhood. So I was born in a Telugu family, very typical where all people go to study science and computers and move abroad. So most of my uncles and aunts are all citizens in the US. But I had other plans. As a kid, I was always very curious about building things, but not in the traditional sense, building things out of like multimedia, like clay or sort of art and creativity stuff. So my uncles who used to live in the US, they used to get these art books from the US. I mean, back then, I don't think those kind of resources were available in India. So we used to get these 365 things to do, and then I used to make sure I made those things in the summer vacations on a daily basis. Like we used to go to my granddad's village. It's in Nalgonda district in now Telangana, and we wouldn't find all those American items that are there in the book. So I had to make do with a lot of local items that you could find in the farm or in the yard or like local stationery shops in the village. But I used to make do, and I mean, as kids we have such vast imagination that we could imagine those things even with the little items you find around the house. So I guess that is where my journey started with creativity and then making things out of scrap and things like that.
Anirudh, can I ask you a question? So you grew up, and most of your uncles were in the US. Why didn't your parents decide to go to the US?
I would say it was a slate of uh, hand by the universe. I don't know. Like my dad, he got into agriculture. He's a master's in agriculture. Because both my granddads, mom's side and dad's side, they were farmers. Uh, so it made sense, I guess, for him to learn it as as a profession. But then he had to take up a job in a bank as a manager. So that's where his path diverted there instead of going to the US, or he could have studied maybe something in the IT field, and that could have opened that up, but he chose not to. And then my mom also chose to become a homemaker. She's done her bachelor's in arts. So yeah, I guess that decision sort of pivoted their paths to
And
staying
your
in India.
uncles and aunts, they are in the US. Is it like, am I stereotyping, or is it like basically IT, good IT people in
A very
whatever?
stereotypical Telugu IT profile you would find all my uncles in, except for a few. One of my uncle owns a bread and breakfast and some businesses in Nashville, so he's the only exception.
Hmm.
But other than him, everybody is in IT. Even
I'm
my
sure he's the happiest. He's not
he
coding
is the
from
happiest.
morning
He
to
visits India
evening. And
whenever he wants, and not bound by his organization rules. Yeah, I know. I see that, and that's sort of an inspiration for me as well. To someday own something of my own here in India, though. But yeah, that was my childhood. I was always a good student in school. Uh, I was very self-disciplined. From my 8th to 12th grade, I was in a hostel in Chennai. So because my dad was a bank manager, he had to move around the country a lot every 3 years. So I was born in Hyderabad, but immediately we moved to UP. I was there till my UK.
यूपी में कहाँ पर?
UP में I was in Gonda district and Balrampur. Uh, so that's where I was.
You know why I'm asking UP में कहाँ पर? Because UP has like as big a population as the whole of USA, uh, and people forget that UP is not one state. I mean, there are like Eastern UP,
Yeah,
Western UP at the basic level, then Uttarakhand, Southern. It is like it's more diverse than Europe. I
yeah.
mean, people might say that India is more diverse than Europe. I think UP itself is more diverse than Europe.
No, I agree. I agree because there's so many different types of people who live in that state, right? So that makes sense. But of course, UP is not for beginners. That is for sure. But then I was too small to experience the true UP. So whatever childhood memories I have are very vague. But they're
And
mostly
how old
happy.
were you when you were in that UP?
So I was there up till my upper kindergarten. So yeah, I was like a small kid just enjoying life. I remember the
Okay,
cold winters. And also we didn't really have a lot growing up.
cold winters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the house
अभी
was
लंदन
also
आओ फिर कोल्ड पता चलेगा यूपी में क्या कोल्ड होती है.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it is relative, right? The feeling of coldness and hotness. So yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, that was UP for me. I remember even in those cold winters, I used to make sure never skip school. My younger brother, he used to hide under the bed, but I was the diligent one, and that stuck with me for the rest of my life. I've always been diligent in whatever I did, and that used to piss off my brother for sure. Because again, like typical Indian families, you compare siblings. That happened a lot. But then after UP, I was in Hyderabad for 2 more years for my first and second grade. After which I moved to Gujarat, where I was in Anand, then Rajkot, and that was up till my 8th grade. And then I was in Chennai from 8th to 12th. I was in a hostel. I'm also part of, my parents were part of the spiritual organization called Heartfulness Institution. Back then it was Sri Ramchandra Mission. So the school that I went to from my 8th to 12th grade was part of that. It was called Omega International School. It was a residential school,
I
and that's
find it
where,
very interesting that
yeah.
you were a creative guy playing with, things, making things, and at the same time so disciplined. Because usually what I've seen in my life is key creativity also goes with not being able to keep discipline in the rest of your life. So that's a very interesting observation about you.
I think, yeah, I've thought about it too, Vix, because I don't know. I've always thought people are more dominant in their right or left brain, but the fact that I was also able to, become a CA, and then eventually, of course, and I was good at analytics and stuff. So I believe, I mean, I have the good mix of using both the sides of the brain. And I've been reading a lot recently on how the brain works and all, but apparently you are able to use both sides. It really depends on how much you activate and then how much you trained as a child. So maybe I just got lucky. As a child, unintentionally my parents helped me grow both sides through different, I don't know, activities. They honestly left me on to my own means or whatever to figure things out. I guess that really helped me. But no, that's a good observation, Vix. Yeah, that's
And
something I'm
also, I've seen
exploring
that,
now.
yeah, that most chart accountants are not the most creative people. Like if I ask chart accountants, what did you do in the childhood? They're the very straight jacket childhood. They're not the people who were playing with colors, who were playing with arts and crafts.
Yeah,
So that's a very unique combination, and
yeah,
I think
I've
that's
been
what makes
hearing
it.
Viggs,
that.
that is stereotyping. Aren't we now trying to avoid stereotyping?
Yeah, we are, but that's the experience I've had. And growing up in Calcutta, I grew up around chartered accountants. And one of the problems I thought was that they were so straight-jacketed. And uh, like Miglani will know that I have a problem with discipline. It's like, well, I would have been so much easier. I could just be a little bit more disciplined. Uh, but I admire discipline. I think anything big and substantial can only be achieved through discipline. And that's pretty cool. Okay, so tell us more. So you were in Chennai hostel 8 to 12th. What did you do after that?
So after that, I came back to Hyderabad because my parents were finally in Hyderabad. My dad took a repatriation back to his domicile state. That's where I then started my CA journey. Now, interestingly, when I was in my 10th grade, I had to choose what stream I wanted to get into. And I never really liked physics, honestly, even though I scored good and did well. But I knew deep inside that I didn't want to do that, like, in my 11th grade. And then, luckily, my school actually conducted a psychometric test and a career counseling session. Uh, that's when it came up to the top that the second best thing I could do in my life as a career was chartered accountancy. The first best was become an IAS officer.
I think this is where Anirudh, I think this
Yeah.
is where आपने यूपी में किंडरगार्टन कर लिया, वहीं से वो आईएएस का कीड़ा आई थिंक आ गया आपके अंदर.
I don't know. It's
Now, I'm not
possible.
saying कि तेलंगाना से नहीं होते and all that, but I think UP Bihar is like the hotbed of IAS.
It is true. It is true. But then I don't know. Even as a child, I had this thing. I told my dad, like, IAS, IIM, but I don't want to become an IAS because then I have to listen to somebody who is not even that educated. The politicians. Like, I don't want to do that. So it's now I realize that was a very big statement to make, but that was the choice I had to do between both of the fields. So I chose. I knew there was something called chartered accountancy, but back in 10th standard, there wasn't so much content around that profession, honestly. And I was in a hostel where we didn't even have access to mobile phones. We could not use mobile phones. The only time we had access to internet was during a computer class. So they were very strict like that, my school. But then I knew something like chartered accountancy exists for which you have to take commerce. So my 11th standard choice was commerce, despite my parents' pressure. They wanted me to take science because that's what they knew. Everybody around them used to take science. But then I ended up taking commerce. So that was the first different thing I did in my family, honestly. Then from there, after my 12th, I came back home. It was only in 12th, towards the end of it, I found out the process of, becoming a CA. And I realized I should have joined a coaching class immediately, but I did not. Then very rushedly, I finished coaching for my CPT, the CA entrance exam, and I cleared it. Then it was smooth sailing because I sort of knew what next steps I should take.
Anirudh, can you help me understand what does CA entrance and how is it working? मुझे तो मतलब 25 साल पहले भी नहीं पता था. I have not done it obviously, but अभी कैसे है? So how do you do CA entrance if you were to guide a youngster who is wants to be a CA and who's in 11th or 12th?
Right. So I did it back in 2012 when the process was a little bit different. I'll first quickly take you through that and then what it is now. So back then it was divided into three stages: CPT, then there was IPCC, and then there was CA final. Between CPT and IPCC, you have a 9-month gap where you do self study, and then you give the exam. CPT is used to be an MCQ test. IPCC was a 7 group exam divided into 2 parts: Group 1 and Group 2. Then after that, you have to do 3 years of articleship under a chartered accountancy firm. And towards the end of that, you are eligible to write for CA final exams, which was again 2 groups, this time 4 subjects each. So this used to be back
But
then.
Anirudh, quick
Yeah.
question. Do you need to do another graduation like a BCom or anything parallelly?
So the UGC has recognized the CA course as a post graduation. You can,
Right.
without doing anything else, do PhD after that. So the recognition is there, but a lot of people for safety net do a BCom along with it. Now, finding you can't. It's very difficult. Let's say you were in Lady Shri Ram or SRCC, and doing CA is difficult because that itself is a very intense program. So a lot of people do
क्या बोल
BCom
रहे हो
along.
यार? SRCC was not intense.
No,
When I
in the
didn't do
sense
anything
along
at
with CA,
SRCC.
along with CA because you have attendance, minimum attendance रहेगा,
Okay.
आपको ये सब करना पड़ेगा.
But
With
CMA,
CA,
where do you have to give minimum attendance? The
you
minimum
have to go
attendance is
for work, right? Articleship for 3 years.
okay.
विक 70% अटेंडेंस होती थी. आई एम 100% श्योर कि DU में होती थी. And that's why most of the CAs that I knew, they used to do with in colleges जहाँ पे अटेंडेंस थोड़ा सा मतलब मैनेज हो जाती है, या फिर कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंस कोर्स करते थे.
फर्स्ट ईयर में वो एडमिट कार्ड देने जाना होता था टू अपीयर फॉर द एग्जाम, और एडमिट कार्ड वो ऑफिस में क्लर्क देते थे. तो वहां गए, केडिया जी आ गए कॉलेज? हाँ सर आ गया. टाइम मिल गया कॉलेज आने का? हाँ सर मिल गया. किसने आए? सर एडमिट कार्ड चाहिए. कॉलेज कितने दिन आए थे? सर कॉलेज तो आता था सर, ये लीजिए एडमिट कार्ड. फर्स्ट ईयर, सेकेंड ईयर, थर्ड ईयर, सेम स्टोरी. So that was my experience in Shriram College. I think I might have attended 10% of classes in 3 years. And that too, also, the girls used to be beautiful in Shriram College. There's something about Delhi girls. They were beautiful. And that was the reason I went to the classes. But
विक्स, मैं एक चीज बोल रहा हूँ कि तेरे इसमें से किसी ने क्लिप निकाल लिया ना, तो किसी रजिस्ट्रार की नौकरी या पेंशन जाएगी.
नहीं, स्पेशली जो लोग हॉस्टल में रहते थे. श्रीराम कॉलेज में सामने कॉलेज है, पीछे हॉस्टल है. तो बिकॉज जो डे के बंदे आते थे, दे यूज्ड टू गो होम अराउंड 1:30. अब हॉस्टल वाले तो, अब क्लर्क्स यूज्ड टू स्टे देयर टिल 5 o'clock, और हम लोग भी वहां पे माने हाफ पैंट में घूम रहे हैं सब लड़के. So at least for the hostelites, attendance was never a problem.
Right? No, of course.
DU में ये भी मेरे को पता है, and since Anirudh, you were talking about IAS, that our impression was as day scholars is कि वो सारे IAS वाले जो DU से निकलते हैं, they were all hostelers. नॉर्थ कैंपस, साउथ कैंपस, हॉस्टल में आते थे. आउट ऑफ स्टेशन वाले लोग, वो दिल्ली वाले नहीं जाते हैं. होते हैं कुछ कुछ, सारे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट वहीं पर होते थे, बट हॉस्टलर्स होते थे जो सारे कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट में जाते थे आईएएस की प्रिपरेशन में. That's my recollection, but I'm sure things have changed in the last 30 years.
Yeah. It might
But
have.
I must say that, look, I stay right outside Stanford University and I get to walk on campus many times. I think Delhi University में जितनी vibrancy है, Stanford में उसकी 10% vibrancy भी नहीं है. Meghani, I've just never seen that
लोग ही नहीं है
vibrancy.
ना. You don't have enough people outside.
हाँ, they're not
DU
enough
में तो
people
मतलब कहीं
outside.
पर भी खोपचे में लोग मतलब 20 लोग सुट्टा मार रहे होंगे,
हाँ,
हाफ टी पी रहे होंगे, कुछ तो हो रहा होगा ना.
हाँ, मुझे याद है
Everything is so structured.
दिल्ली.
People go for
हाँ,
classes, people do this.
हाँ,
उसके बाद कैंटीन में जाके
हाँ,
let's
हाँ.
catch a sandwich.
हाँ, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी मैंने श्री राम कॉलेज के हॉस्पिटल से पहले कमला नगर आता था, फिर घंटा घर आता था, और घंटा घर पहुंचते पहुंचते जहाँ ट्रेन स्टेशन था, करीब आधा घंटा लगता था वॉक करके. तो रात को 2 बजे जाया करते थे वॉक करके घंटा घर, क्योंकि वहाँ पराठे बड़े अच्छे मिलते थे. वहां से पराठे लेके 2-3 जन जाते थे, पराठे लेके भी सब खाते थे. यार स्टैनफोर्ड यूनिवर्सिटी के बाद तो कुछ खुला ही नहीं है. एट 2 o'clock at night there is nothing open. I don't know. I really don't know where is the youth here. I just don't know. कोई यूथफुल एनर्जी नहीं है.
Vix, you're comparing geography difference है, but I think also generational and time period difference है. So Anirudh, tell me कि generational difference को at least give your answer कि अभी क्या हो रहा है, मतलब how is the.
I think you're making a good point, Viglani, क्योंकि हमारे लिए वही सोशलाइजेशन था, राइट? और अब लोग सोशलाइजेशन कर रहे हैं स्नैपचैट पे, इंस्टाग्राम पे, कि from their room itself they're able to fulfill those needs. But for us, we needed to be out on the street and दोस्तों के संग, because how do you hang out with a person? Like you have to be on the street or in the room or outside.
Definitely generational, because when you left India, it was a more collectivist society for sure. Now, 2025, I can tell you it is moving towards a more individualistic society, like let's say US or Europe. Of course, it's not going to be as individualistic as Europe, because collectivism will still be part of it. We're still a community driven society, right? Indians. So that's always going to be there. People are going to be, uh, a priority in general. कि लोग क्या कहेंगे तो हमेशा रहेगा even 2100s में. So that won't change, but the amount or the level of the individualism has increased. So people are more on social media, more excluded from a lot of social events compared to when you left. Now, but that being said, the youth that is born in India so today see India differently, right? Like for example, my uncles left in the 90s, so they have a different view of India. Even when they come, they try to find that India now, but that doesn't exist anymore, and they don't agree to a lot of things they talk about India because that's not true anymore. So I see India from a different lens because I see India that is prospering, and I see India that has a lot more opportunity now for me as a person than as opposed to what I was going to do in Sweden, let's say. Of course, I would get an amazing life in Sweden, but the energy is just different now. And the youth, the young people who have been born in that country, uh, know it, and they're very hopeful for it. I think optimism is what is supercharging the country right now. Optimism to be a superpower in the future. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done, but that is there throughout the country. Now, at least I think because there are multiple Indias within the country, I might be in a bubble where this might be the case. I do not know what the Bharat side of India is really feeling, but I am hoping that it is on similar lines. But that is what I would say, the generational difference of what
I have a feeling,
country.
Anirudh,
Yeah,
since and this is again, this is my reflection from 5,000 miles away. Is I think what's powering India is the Bharat side of India,
right.
because the metro side of India was powering India for the last 30 years,
Yeah.
or at least at the very least since 1992 जब reform शुरू हुए थे.
Hmm.
So that was very much urban, metro based, and all that. I think in the last 5 years or 10 years, what's powering India is the Bharat side of India. Of course, like you said, बहुत कुछ करने को है, एंड अभी तो हमने आइसबर्ग का टिप से जस्ट नीचे डिप कर रहे हैं टोज.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
एंड 150 करोड़ पॉपुलेशन तक पहुंचते पहुंचते आई थिंक अगले 50 साल लग जाएंगे, एंड इवन दैट विल बी अ ह्यूज अचीवमेंट अगर हम 150 करोड़ लोगों को इस लेवल पर एक एवरेज पर ले आए.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's one thing
Yeah.
I have to dial back. You were saying my uncles left in the 90s and their perception. I've got like a personal recollection. So I've been here 17 years in London.
Yeah.
And I've seen people who have been here for 30 years and 50 years and all that. The older people, वो साउथ हॉल में आपको मिलते हैं, बर्मिंघम में मिलते हैं कि
Yeah.
हम तो यहाँ पे तब से हैं. They are more relatively on a lot of things. They are more traditional Indian culturally and so on than I ever was even in my childhood,
Hmm.
because they carry the culture which was Indian culture in the 60s, 80s, 70s. Some of them who have come in the there's a huge Gujarati community who have come through the Kenya Ugandan route
Yeah.
to London because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a huge segment there, and they hold the culture of India in like 100 years ago.
Hmm.
वो उस टाइप की भी पूजा और उस टाइप की करते हैं अभी भी, एंड देयर सेकंड थर्ड फोर्थ जनरेशंस नाउ
Yeah.
दे आर डूइंग दैट.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, if I were to put that in a nutshell, is that we carry when we last left India,
Yeah.
और हम किसी भी देश में जाएं, स्वीडन जाएं, यूके जाएं, यूएस जाएं, कहीं भी जाएं, that is our recollection of India.
Yeah.
But then I look back and there's one little thing that because of social media, because of a lot of interconnectivity, अब आज की डेट में मैं अपने my parents live in India, in Delhi, but I'm still able to talk to them at least once a week, if not two,
Yeah.
3, 4 times a week,
Yeah.
right? So we are way more connected.
Yeah. True.
मूवीज ज्यादा रिलीज होती हैं यहाँ पर,
Yeah.
एंड वी नो कि क्या वो चल रहा है, कि अब अभी हम देख रहे थे, अब यहाँ यू प्रॉब्ली डोंट नो इज एंड यू प्रॉब्ली डू नो इज कि अभी सिकंदर मूवी रिलीज हो रही है, अभी आज आईपीएल शुरू हुआ. वी आर लाइक वे कनेक्टेड.
Yeah.
30 years ago हमें पता ही नहीं होता यूएस में या यूके में कि यार ये सब चल रहा है इंडिया में, राइट? वो फिर कोई चिट्ठी लिखता है, फिर 2 साल बाद पता चलता है कि अच्छा ऐसा हुआ, एंड दैट काइंड ऑफ अ थिंग. So I think that gap is completely narrowing down, and we are more in tune, even though we have left India like 15 years, 20 years, 25 years ago.
Yeah. No.
Not the same with the previous generation.
I agree.
जो
I
पहले
agree.
आए थे.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in London as well for like 6 months. I was working with KPMG UK, and I had managers who were third generation Indians and who used to speak amazing Gujarati. Because I lived
हाँ
in
हाँ हाँ
Gujarat,
वो
so I know
and I
Gujarati.
can bet that 90% of them would be the Kenyan or
Exactly.
Ugandan
Yeah,
Gujarati boy.
yeah. So they're very traditional that way. But yeah, like you said, that was India of the era that their forefathers brought into their culture. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Anirudh, we are coming back to your story because this episode is all about you, and obviously we'll keep discussing this. So what next after CA? So you were preparing for CA, where we completely digressed into this.
No, so yeah, coming back to that. So now if somebody wants to do CA, it is CA entrance. It is now a part of MCQ plus some written answers in the law and that kind of area. Then you prepare for your CA foundation. After, so this is CA entrance is now CA foundation. Then you prepare for your CA inter, where you give the exams group 1, group 2. And now the articleship period has been reduced from 3 years to 2 years to make the whole course shorter by the governing body ICI. So at the end of 2 years, you can give your final exams. Now there's another thing called direct entry. Let's say you've done your BCom and then you want to do CA, you can bypass the CA foundation and directly do CA inter. So that's also there. Now for articleship, it's always good to do from a good mid-sized firm or a big four like KPMG, EY, PwC, Deloitte. A lot of people try for that because it gives a lot more exposure. But then it also depends. If somebody wants to get into entrepreneurship or set up their own practice, then a mid-sized firm is a lot better to do it from.
So they don't need to anymore do any graduation, BCom or Eco honors from DU or any other university, or do people still do it?
I mean, they do it. Yeah, I know a lot of people who do it. I mean, not everybody wants to become a CA because it is a very tough exam to crack. So if you see across all levels, at least when I cleared, the CA final pass rate was at 2%. Right now it's hovering around 10%. But if you combine that at a CA or entrance, inter, and then CA final, the pass percentage is like less than like 5% overall. So in a country of 1.4 billion, there are around 400,000 CAs. So there's a lot more scope, but a lot of people don't get into it. So of course they would, if somebody's in commerce, they would do the DU route, the SRCC route to get into there that sort of field, and do other courses apart from CA.
Great, great. So you did your CA, and thank you for sharing all the tips for how the CA has changed and different. So उसके बाद क्या?
So
Why IIM?
I did my articleship at KPMG. So then once I
Okay.
became a qualified chartered accountant, I chose to continue at KPMG. So my career for the next 6.5 years was with KPMG, but it was spread across Singapore, London, and then Sweden. And beach may I
But
did
Anirudh, can I ask you a question?
yeah.
Sorry. So your articleship was at KPMG. Articleship में क्या होता है? So I don't know.
Right. So
I've heard
articleship.
things. Everyone has a very different articleship.
Yeah. So articleship in a CA course is basically you're like a full-time employee at a firm. So I used to go daily to work. कभी कभी तो Saturday Sunday भी जाता है because it is very intense. When you're an article, you're supposed to do everything menial and also a lot of things you learn over time. In the first year, you do more manual tasks. Doing I don't know, the lower hanging fruit in terms of the audit procedures at a company. But luckily for me, I was part of Dr. Reddy's audit team, and it was one of the biggest audit teams in Hyderabad. It was so KPMG listed Dr. Reddy's in New York Stock Exchange, or was it Nasdaq? So one of those. And then we were the auditors, so I got a lot of exposure in US GAAP audit and IFRS. So that sort of opened a lot of doors for me to get into other countries, because right now what is happening is there's so much dearth for the audit professionals around the world because young people are not becoming auditors in the US or in Europe, because it is, I don't know, they're moving on from it. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours that you need to put into. So there's a lot of demand for Indian auditors across the world. So that's how I got, after I became a CA, I gave an interview for, so KPMG has a very strong mobility program. I got opportunity to work with KPMG in Singapore for like 7 months, and they sort of wanted me there long term. But then I got so fed up with their work culture, so I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. It's worse than India.
Work culture, matlab, long work hours or
Long,
like?
I can't even tell you. So I thought India was long working hours. Then I realized the more east you go, the worse it gets. Because I was working on a client that had a Japanese secondee from Japan, and she was telling it is worse in Japan. And I thought Singapore was bad. So what used to happen was we used to work long hours from morning till evening on one client, and people used to do their second job once they're back in office. So that used to stretch till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the night, and they used to repeat that every day, like again back to work at 9 a.m. Because I don't know, I think it's such a small country. All people do is, eat and work and sleep. Because our discussions on a day-to-day basis was, "Aaj lunch mein kya khana hai?" It was a very full-fledged discussion. So there was, honestly, there's so many options in Singapore for food. And even today I miss that, because all those hawker centers, oh, they're world class, and then you get food from around the world. So I think that made sense why people were so gaga about food in that country. Yeah, but that was my experience in Singapore. Then I came back to India for a while, and then I got an opportunity to work in London. So I worked at the Canary office of KPMG. Then after a few months, I moved to the Watford office. So I was able to work on audits across the boroughs in London. So yeah, then after that, this was in 2018. Then I came back, uh, and then in 2020 I moved to Sweden. What funny story? I was on the last flight from Sweden to India right before India closed for the COVID. So I was over there thinking, there's some virus in that has spread from India to Japan and Thailand. I was thinking, kya hoga? Because I had made travel plans to US to visit my uncle. So I thought US to kabhi aana nahi hai, kuch nahi hoga, US will manage. And then the WHO declared it as a pandemic, and then everything went upside down, and immediately
Was it a holiday that you were going to India for or something
I
else?
was in Sweden. I was working there. I was going on a holiday to the US. Uh, and then I was supposed to fly back to India, but I had to cancel all those plans and then fly right back to India. I was literally on the last flight, and then I landed, and then India closed. I think it was some 21st March or something. So I landed on 20th, and then yeah, that happened. But when I was
But you
leaving,
were still working in Sweden at that
no,
point.
so at that point I was in the payroll of India firm, but I was
Okay.
doing a secondment to Sweden. But they said, we would like to have you back, and I really liked the work culture when I was there for the six
Right.
months. So I initiated the conversation for going there long term during COVID, and that was also when I got an offer from India office to get promoted as a manager. But they wanted me to move to Bangalore during COVID, and I was like, how can I do that? It was a very weird thing for them to even ask. So I rather go to Stockholm if I am anyways moving during COVID. But then I had to let go of the manager promotion. I had to join as assistant manager first in the Stockholm office. Then after a
But tell me, hypothetically, you could have moved to Bangalore office. Anyways, everything was happening on Zoom at that point.
yeah. No, the thing is, it's a
So
new
it doesn't
office.
matter where you are.
Yeah, but then working as an employee in Sweden is different from working as an employee in India, Bangalore, because I wanted to experience that. So it made more sense for me to explore that country more. And I had built some relationships there in terms of my colleagues and all, who really wanted me on this one very big client that they had. So ABB was one of the biggest audit clients in Sweden, and because I had those US gap skills, they really appreciated my time there, and they said, why don't you come and help us out? So I was like, yeah, it's a great opportunity. So I went there, and then they had a partner. They hired a partner who led the listing of Spotify in Sweden. He was building a new team for US capital markets, because what used to happen was all the Nordic countries used to rely on the US or the UK office to get their listing, the capital market things done. They wanted to build that capability in Sweden, and help the Nordic countries deal with all those. So I was then invited to join that team. So I moved to deal advisory and IPO consulting. So that kind of
Anirudh, I'm
exposure.
very interested. You're saying this as a matter of fact, and I've also heard this, that why they have these offices and who helps the listing. But tell us a bit more about why these offices are used for all the listings.
Right. So one is because the listing body is in the US, the NYC, Nasdaq in the US, so they're first right in terms of expertise or the local talent. Like I said, local talent is not there in the Nordics. Like nobody is trained to audit a company that is going to get listed in New York, because it is so difficult to get listed. Not just that, to be ready to get listed in NYC or Nasdaq is a very big deal, and the kind of scrutiny and the level of compliance you need to have as a company is like next level. Like getting listed on BSE is different from getting listed on NYSE. The SEC and those kind of rules, the SOX compliance that you need to be prepared for is something as consultants was not there in the local talent. So they used to hire people who had that. So they used to charge. I mean, US office used to come in and then help, or London office, because they also have that capability. But their charge rates were like triple, four times what the Swedish consultants used to charge. Now it made more sense to build that local. So that's when it started, that we'll build the capital markets capability in the Nordics. That was the vision with which they started, and then they hired few people from the US, and Indians are also really good at these skills, because at KPMG, I think in 2016, 12 out of the 16 Indian companies that were listed in US were held by KPMG. So KPMG was pretty strong in those areas. So a lot of
That's a big market share, if I might. 12 out of 16. So what about the other big four or big five or big three, the PwC and Deloitte? नहीं थे उनका presence?
they have presence now. I think the balance has shifted. KPMG sort of lost it out. Abhi to I think Deloitte and EY are also pretty strong in terms of getting companies listed. But now I don't think a lot of Indian companies are getting listed in the US anyway. Utna wo craze nahi raha. They're fine getting listed in India, because I think they're able to raise good money here also. Because that situation is also changing, right? Our capital markets are becoming more.
I'm sure all the FIIs are investing in the Indian markets rather than, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Abhi
So
thoda.
Anirudh, I want to. I'm interested to hear about the Swedish work culture.
Yes.
So tell us more
Yeah,
about it. When I
yeah.
spent 6 months in Denmark, and what I realized was ki life was good here.
It is very good. And I'm see, we have this survey, right? Happiness survey. And then for some reason, these Nordic countries are on the top. Now, I don't understand, because 6 months wo log darkness mein rehte hain. So as a society, most of the people are depressed. Now, when you're that sort of a situation, how can you be happy? I mean, I was struggling to understand. Then I realized, it's a lot about comradeship. And then there's this really nice law, like a societal law. They're called Yante's law, which is don't stand out. Uh, so I think there is no competition there to stand out. Everybody is like, you see, H&M is from Sweden. It's just monochrome. Those things are minimalist. Like you don't need to like. As opposed to Indians, we want to stand out because we're such a big country. If you don't stand out, you're lost in the crowd. You can't. You have to kill or get eaten in India. So that sort of breeds a lot of competitiveness as opposed to comradeship. So I think I realized that when you have that, when you consider everybody your comrade, there's a lot more happiness and there's a lot more stability in your life. So this is my analysis of why they're really happy, because of all these things. And they have this other thing called lagom. It's a Swedish word to say that not too much, not too less, just enough. And that is the philosophy they follow even at work. Like we used to leave at 6 p.m. even as consultants. It's crazy to think that you could just leave at 6 p.m. But then the whole country works like that. There's no expectation of you to work. So that it works for them because they're a 10 million population, pretty rich. They used to be very poor, but then the World War changed that for them. And yeah, I think this is why the Nordics are more happier and then more stable as a society, because
But
also
Anirudh, I
egalitarian.
have to say that if the Nordics, quote unquote, are more happier than the rest of the world, why factually, why do they have higher suicide rates, and why is there a higher level of prescription medicine on depression?
Yeah, so this was also my thing. I mean, it's scientifically like that because of the 6 months of darkness, vitamin D deficiency, and the
Hmm.
darkness induces depression, and that leads to suicide rates for sure. So that is a problem that they have to deal with because of the environment that they're
So you
in.
can't say they are happier, because 6 months to they are sadder, right?
Yeah,
So
so
on average, they're not happier or sadder. So ठीक है.
exactly. So that was my whole thing. How can you have this on one end and still top the charts in happiness? Yeah, to survey wrong hai. Yeah, I used to first think that maybe the survey is designed for Western definition of happiness, which is more materialistic. That's why India is not on that list at the top, because our definition of happiness is different. But then the more I thought about it, it's also because why Indians are not happy is because of the competition that is in the country, that you have to stand out. Like you can't fall back on society in general to help you or support you, because they're out there for you. I think that is kind of
I think that's such a big difference, because here in the US, even though it's not as good as the Nordics, but everybody can be confident that they will not go hungry. Like the food stamp program in America is so strong that if you fall below the poverty line, you will get per person in the family, you will get around $300 a month.
But Vixar, let me tell you, the last time I was there in your neighborhood in San Francisco, the number of homeless and druggies that I saw on the streets of San Francisco, जिनको मुझे ऐसे लग रहा था कि खाना 3 दिन से नहीं मिला है, सिर्फ चरस मार रहे हैं.
Yes. So that actually comes from misplaced kindness of heart. The people that you're seeing on the street, if any one of them wanted, they would have a bed to sleep and they would have $300 a month, $10 a day for food. They'll also get free food. But अगर खुद भी कुछ खरीद के खाना है तो $10. But most of these people, kindness of heart misplaced, why I say is because America closed down the asylums because there were some scandals that people were being abused in asylums, right? So America closed down the asylums, and then it said even these people, we want to give them freedom. We don't want to tell them, you can't be in San Francisco downtown. You have to be outside in this field. So it's like letting them live their life. Like that's the philosophy. Key. Why should a billionaire get to live his life, and why can't a person who wants to poop on the street? Why can't he poop on the street? That's his right too. So it's misplaced kindness. But I actually know people in my real life who've been successful and who've not been successful. Then America just takes care of you, and you're like, what? The society will actually give you money for food, because growing up in India, it wasn't like that. And I think once you create that social safety net, that look, people will get Medi-Cal in California, they'll get food, they'll get subsidized housing. It just creates that base level of happiness, that base level of security, which I personally have found a lot of Indians to suffer from that base insecurity. Key, maybe we won't have food to eat. Like rich people,
honestly, Vix, that has been solved for now. The government is
Okay.
very diligent, so it's not about going hungry. That has reduced to a lot extent. There is no absolute poverty anymore. Of course, it's relative
Okay.
poverty, but that's a different thing. That is not related to happiness at all. I believe it's more of a, I don't know, more. I think like the pyramid that we have, right? We're
So
beyond those physical needs. It's that we're at a level where it is not related to the basic necessities anymore. There we're stuck as a society in terms of happiness, is what I feel.
So in India, people are not going hungry anymore. कि अगर गरीब से गरीब आदमी को भी खाने को मिलता है.
So we have the schemes where you can get ration from by the government, and the government was doing that during COVID also. Like that is the reason why, instead of pushing money as a stimulus, unlike other developed, what India did differently was provide sustenance in terms of food grains to its population. So
Yes.
that's why our inflation levels are so much in control now. So that is a very
Yes.
different thing route that we took. So I mean, of course, there will be hunger here and there, and no,
Yes.
no amount of
Yes. Yes.
statistics would justify. But
Ah.
but at a societal level, we have solved that problem to a great extent.
Okay, that's very good. And have you also solved the medical care problem? I keep hearing, Kecha, we have this national health insurance, but then I hear that it doesn't work. So
Yeah,
what's
so
your
we have solved sort of it for that as well, in the sense we have the government hospital. Have anybody who needs help, who are poor, can get it for free there, and it works. The only thing is the kind of facilities that are there might not be on par with the private If you want immediate care, you have to go private, and private is very expensive. So that is where the issue is, that
But basic मिल रहा है, basic
basic
मिल
मिल
रहा है.
रहा है. Yeah, just that you have to wait a
कि
bit.
कोई मरने नहीं वाला है, एटलीस्ट वो मिल रहा है. बिकॉज अभी तक फ्रॉम सी इन द लास्ट 100 years and maybe more than that is like people would die from basic diseases. Influenza, I mean, influenza has been cured for like 100+ years. Why should anyone die of a basic flu? Now I know, without digressing, COVID was also a basic flu gone wrong, but that's a separate story.
So people are not dying of cancer because they can't afford cancer treatment.
Now that is a different case, right? Cancer, I think, yeah. I mean, I'm
People are
not
dying
the
of
expert to
cancer
comment on
everywhere
that.
in the world,
Yeah.
Vix.
No, but not
Everywhere
because
in
of
the
lack
world,
of
because
treatment.
we don't have a cure for
नहीं
cancer,
नहीं नहीं ऐसी बात नहीं
despite
है.
news headlines.
नहीं हाँ मैंने you are a healthcare investor, so I won't argue with you there. But what I feel like, or I don't know, what I want to know is, at least in the US, even if a poor person gets cancer, he will get treatment. He will get his
नहीं
medications. He'll get,
यार, मतलब यूएस में तो और भी बुरा है, because if you need to have that medical insurance, otherwise no one will treat you,
but that's what I'm saying. People below
which is
the poverty
private,
line.
because US healthcare is private.
No, no, Miglani, there's a misconception. See, I'm on the ground here. Poor people here will get Medi-Cal, and people above the age of 65 will get Medicare. I don't know of anyone, at least in California where I live, who cannot access medical care if they want it. What I do see happening a lot is that there's a sense of despair in America because of a lot of lack of jobs and stuff. People, even if they can access it, they prefer ki I'll be on the street smoking my charas and ganja and shooting up heroin. There's a sense of despair. There's a sense of lack of purpose. But the country, like at least in California, everybody can access healthcare for free and food for free.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ground to cover in terms of holistic healthcare in India, but I think the basic, everybody has access now, and insurance also for poor people, it's there as a government policy, basic insurance, but of course, it's not enough. It can be.
What I want to know is that since we're talking about the topic of Sweden, so you're in Sweden, you're enjoying that life, and like I just don't see myself coming back to India after that.
So honestly, a lot of reasons. I believe I am, because I've seen India, right, from a different lens. So I knew I wanted to experience a foreign country, but not settle there. One, because I saw a lot of my grandparents just die on their own, while my uncles were in the US. That really affected me as a kid. I didn't want to do that. The other thing also was that, I wanted my kids to grow with their grandparents, because uh, the kind of wisdom that a grandparent is able to pass on to their grandchildren is different from what a parent can give to their kids, because that is, because again it goes back to our collectivist society. That is how for eons Indians have lived. I mean, whatever they would call back then. uh, I wanted to, there's a generational wisdom that is passed down, since centuries. I think I wanted that sort of environment for myself, and I knew I'd be comfortable in the country. Like, if you're rich and if you're Indian, India is the best place. So that was my goal. I knew I wanted to learn the best practices from Sweden, but come back to India and see how I can improve my life. It was a personal reason, of course, and also the fact, the phase of growth that India is in. If I can get onto that, there's a higher chance of me being a rich person in India than in Sweden. In Sweden, I would still be comfortable but be middle class. But in India, there's a real chance of me being rich, like a dollar rich person. So that is also my idea as well, and that's where IIM A fits in. So I did give CAT 2 years after I became a CA, but it didn't really work out because I didn't get the score that I wanted, and then immediately I got this opportunity to move abroad. So I thought I might as
So
well
when you
just
say,
take it.
Anirudh, when you
Yeah.
say I didn't get the score, what is the score? Because
I got.
I think I know, because we have discussed it with some other people on our channel. Is now we don't have a complete black box that we used to have in our time. कि पता ही नहीं है कि कहाँ से इंटरव्यू कॉल आएगी. There's no score ever.
So I got 91, I'll be very honest, and it's not a good score. It's a good score for a commerce student who's a
When you say
CA.
91, it's like, do you get a score like 91 on 100
No,
or
it's a
something like
91
that?
percentile. So it's a percentile. You do get your raw score, but percentile is what matters for shortlist.
Which means that there are 9% of the people who
Who did
are
better than me?
better than you
Yeah,
on that test
yeah,
on that day.
on that day. Yeah. So a lot of reasons would have contributed for me to get that score. Uh, but I was like, okay, fine. I was not hell bent on doing IIM or an MBA back then. So it was still okay. And I got this amazing opportunity to visit a new country. And I thought, in hindsight, it was a good decision I took, because I don't think even with an MBA degree, I would have had those specific experiences. It might have been a different path. But hindsight, I'm okay about the fact that I didn't make it back then. But that
But Anirudh, this CAT that you took
yeah,
2 years, this was when you were still in India or
in
when you
India.
were
So
in
I
Sweden?
had come back from Singapore. Then I thought I should do, yeah, I thought that I should do something, move out of audit or do something different. That was the thought process. So I took the coaching for it, but I couldn't do it. Then I got the London opportunity, and then CAT just went out of my you know uh, plans. Then I got more deeper into the audit field, and then I got promotions, and then I became a manager, moved to deal advisory. That and then this was in Sweden in 2021 when I decided eventually I want to move back to India. And the best way to then switch jobs, because I didn't want to stay in audit or deal advisory or anything related to what a CA does. So that's where I am, or the MBA fit in. And then I gave GMAT.
But what was the big reason move back to India? You said
Yeah.
2021.
Uh,
Was it pandemic? Was it family? Was it all of these?
so I moved back to Sweden after the pandemic began. So it wasn't the pandemic that was the reason. It was just that it was getting to me. The darkness was really getting to me. The first year was okay. So I spent 4 winters in Sweden. Uh, First 2 years were okay. Then I really felt depressed. Like I never felt that way before. And I was like, I don't want this in the longer term. And then there was no community for me, honestly. Like I might have friends, co-workers, but there was that missing feeling of community. And that is something that I feel when I'm in India, and then I can't really explain it, but there is a sense of community here. It's very different. I can't really put words to it why it is different, but I could feel it. Like it was not there, it was missing in Sweden, and it was getting to me. And I knew deep down subconsciously that I was always going to be a second class citizen there, because I was not born in that country. And it is very evident in European countries, maybe not in the US or even UK for that matter, but uh, European countries, you could tell that you will never really belong unless you give up your Indianness, which is I'll have.
I can relate to a number of those reasons, not all, but even in the UK, in London, I'll tell you this darkness. We are not used to it. We never grew up with darkness, and for you, it was probably 6 months of darkness. We have about like 3 odd months of darkness. Now, Vix cannot relate to darkness. He
No,
lives
I
in
cannot.
sunny
Sunny
California. उसको
California.
पता ही नहीं है कि मतलब कि ठंडे
Yeah,
देश कैसे होते
I saw Miglani's London through Miglani's phone and I got depressed.
हैं। As in, he was like कि यार इतना dark है और मैं कल बताया था कि today is a sunny day.
Yeah, and the
It's a
worst thing
sunny
is
day in
it rains
London.
all the time
हमारे
in London.
definition of sunny day was like he was saying कि this is a dark day in California.
No, I was like hoping that I'll weasel my way into living in Miglani's home for a couple of weeks. And then as soon
नहीं
as
नहीं
I saw the
कैलिफोर्निया से नहीं
outside,
आ सकता. I think you need to
oh,
do a stopover in New York, try living in New York first, or New Jersey, or somewhere in the northern hemisphere, and then London. So I'll tell you one little thing. London weather is very balanced for the latitude we are. We are like very much like southern Sweden or Norway, that level of latitude. We are like so high, but no one realizes that. We are like at the same latitude as northern Canada, the islands, not even Montreal and Toronto. We are like northern Canada. That is the level we are at. And for that latitude, London weather and England weather is high because of all the. I mean, there's like some weather things. I don't want to. I'm not an expert. I've heard about it, read about it. There's some sea currents. There's some wind currents, and blah blah. But the point is that I recognize that even 3 months of darkness is it gets to me even after 17 years in this country. The other thing is that what you were saying about second class citizens, yeah, they that may or may not be true. That's like a bit of whatever, but it's about the economy. And the economy, in my opinion, as I see from here, and I'm biased, is it's about number of people. And as I relate back, I think about my first summer or summer in London, where I was walking on Oxford Street, and all that, and it was busy because it was like peak summer, peak tourist period, and it was bhara bhara, as now I will say it. And that was my first time in London in a peak tourist area, and the person, my friend, was like, this is so busy, and I had just come from Mumbai. I was like, "ये busy है?" And I mean, today I'll call that very busy, but it was a nice sunny day on Oxford Street, and पूरी दुनिया के टूरिस्ट आए हुए थे. I was like, यार रात को 1 बजे दादर स्टेशन पे से ज्यादा लोग मिल जाएंगे. That was my like, I still have that recollection. It's about number of people, and today I'm used to that level of people, and I'm sure in the Nordics it's like way less people than. Forget London, even the UK, the population density is very different. So I can understand. But Anirudh, so you went and you started preparing for CAT, and you got in.
So no, I prepared for GMAT because I was at 6.5 years of work ex, it did not make sense to do a 2 year anymore. So it's similar to how the INSEAD or the HEC Paris program is. IIM's 1 year MBA, full time MBA PGPX is on similar methodology. The pedagogy is the same as the 2 year. The professors are the same. It's just that the duration is 1 year. So I wrote the GMAT. Then I applied to only three schools: IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, and ISB. Uh, I got through all three, the admits, but I always wanted to do it from IIM Ahmedabad, so that's what I chose. Yeah.
Yeah, but congratulations. I think getting through all Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and Calcutta, correct?
No, ISB.
ISB, yeah. So that's pretty
Yeah.
impressive, like getting through all those three places. And Bangalore also has a 1 year MBA now.
It does, it does.
Okay.
But honestly, it was my last choice because the true competition for me was ISB and IIM Ahmedabad. Because even in the rankings, if you see right now, ISB is at world rank 27 in the MBA, FT MBA rankings, and IIM Ahmedabad is at 31st. But in terms of career progression, IIM Ahmedabad's FT ranking is number one for the past 4 years. So it beats
Number
even
one worldwide.
number one worldwide in terms of career progression and the weighted average salary in the third year. It beats even Harvard or in HEC Paris or London Business. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a great feat by IIM Ahmedabad, honestly, and a lot of people in India don't know about the program because they get confused with the executive MBA, which this is not. And that is also the motive for me starting my channel is to make IIM Ahmedabad or even IIM Bangalore's 1 year program a household name because people associate CAT with IIMs, but that's not the case anymore. GMAT is also there if you want to do an MBA at IIM Ahmedabad or IIM Bangalore or for the matter any of the IIMs.
Anirudh, can I ask you a question if you are willing to share? GMAT में score क्या था?
I'll tell you, I'll be very honest. I gave 3 attempts. My first two were at 620. I was honestly questioning my intelligence. कि क्या हो रहा है गलत? But then deep down, I knew कि I have it in me to do it. So my last score was 700, which is the average score for the school. Uh, People have come in at 760 and all. Indians generally get 760, 780. But for me, I was very happy with 700 because I knew I have a good prior academic track record and the work experience to cover that up.
So
Right,
700
right.
out of 800, correct?
Out of an 800. Yeah.
But
Yeah, but it's not a linear thing. It's
It's
a
not linear.
percentile
Yeah,
thing and all that, and very few people get above 750.
yeah, very few people. And the
you
average
managed
score,
it 20
yeah,
years ago when I wrote my GREs. I remember it was 800 in English, 800 in math. So
GRE is a different scoring.
yeah. And GRE right now is in the scoring in the 400s. It's 325
okay.
is the average score for GREs right now.
So how was your experience at IIM Ahmedabad? Did it live up to its hype?
So one rule I follow is expect not, thou shall not be disappointed. So I went in with that, and I absolutely love my experience at IIM Ahmedabad because the PGPX is a very big draw for professors because the best of the professors want to teach at PGPX because of the class. It's a very experienced class, and the interactions are very different from a 2-year PGP fresher sort of a situation. The professors really enjoy it, so we get the best of the professors, and the conversations that we have, the kind of pure learning we get is it's amazing. So for me, that was a very very big takeaway. But apart from that,
Anirudh, can I ask you a question? When
yeah,
you say PGPX,
yeah,
that's the 1 year program versus PGP being the 2 year program. Is
yes,
that right?
that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And PGPX is everyone with WorkX or?
Everyone will progress. So the minimum requirement for the IMAs 1 year is 4 years. For IMB, the minimum work ex requirement is 5 years. So it's even more stricter. For ISB, it used to be 2 years, but now ISB has taken a choice to split its programs into two. There is one that is going to compete with the IIM's 2-year program where you can join as a fresher as well. And there is one that is going to compete with the rest of the 1-year programs. I think they've made it around 3 or 4 years minimum work ex as opposed to two.
So you apply to all these
I
programs?
applied to all three. So my target was always IMA. The first, so IMA is the only.
अच्छा क्यों?
Yeah.
I have to ask this कि मतलब नंबर 1 से बैंगलोर में क्यों नहीं अप्लाई किया? अहमदाबाद नंबर 2 में क्यों करा?
Honestly, I don't know. We could have that conversation for ages, and it can't be
I
settled.
know, I know,
But
I know. I'm just joking,
yeah, but
obviously.
you choose the school, right? And the school chooses you. For me, it was always
Yeah.
IMA. वो अंदर से feeling आता है ना, so that you are part of this school. That was always there for me with IMA.
And the fact that you spent some of your formative years in Anand in Ahmedabad, right? Even in the childhood. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gujarati was always there. Uh, yeah, but no, I didn't want to go there for the weather for sure. It's the worst. I would rather be in Bangalore from that perspective. But I don't know. For me, IMA was always a bastion of learning. I'm sure IMB also the same. But I don't know. There was this intuitive feeling that it was a better fit for me, and I think it was. Uh, I really enjoyed it. At the end of it, I even got a scholarship on exit. So that was a plus point for me. I managed to be the secretary of media and marketing there. Even as a CA, I was leading the committee there. We took our seniors had given us the Instagram page, the unofficial. So we got it at 700. Me and my team grew it up to 10K plus followers by the time we left. So that was one of our biggest achievement, and it's a very big asset for the program right now. So yeah, that also helped me take inspiration from and motivation to start my own page. So I started with like I had 1K followers, but right now it's at 26K followers. So
Wow,
yeah,
wow,
yeah, and
wow.
then
That is way more than our channel right now.
no, but this
We've
is on
got high
Instagram.
ambitions, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Anirudh, coming back to your IIM Ahmedabad, the PGPX versus PGP,
Yeah.
and I'm using the word versus and not in a confrontation, but is it different in terms of your daily routine? Is it different in terms of do you stay apart from each other, or how do you interact with the 2 year MBA versus your PGPX?
So I'll tell you, historically, there's always been this disconnect between both the programs, because PGP has a legacy of 60 plus years, and PGPX is around this is the 20th year. So that and the PGPX class has always been small, because there are only like 100 students a year, right? For PGPX, while PGP has a lot more each year. So the level of alumni are also different, and historically, all the smart minds went to PGP. But things are changing now. Uh, there is an equal balance in terms of smartness and creativity between both the programs. And now, uh, uh, in a historic move, the student body has now included PGPX in it. So PGPX will now also get elected as part of the student body overall. So the school has also realized the importance of the 1 year MBA, because that is the program that gets ranked globally as an MBA and not the 2 year, because the 2 year is MIM technically globally. So, and we are climbing the ranks year on year. So the level of importance that has been given has increased, and the interaction so we all live in the same campus, just that we have slightly better dorms because we pay more fees. Our fees are not subsidized. So we get.
Oh, so in Bangalore, we used to have like an MDC block, which was like attached toilet and ensuite kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
हमारे shared toilets होते थे, and I don't know if you know, uh, is that Three Idiots movie that was shot on IIM Bangalore campus, and वो जब वो नहा रहे थे ये सब मेरे को रोना आ रहा था क्योंकि मेरे को अपना कैंपस याद आ रहा था. This is exactly how we did. वो हमारे वो वाले bathrooms, toilets में वो जो होता था ना वैसे ही हम ब्रश करते थे. But you had ensuite.
Yeah, this is the issue also at IIMA now, because the old campus is now historical. Everybody lives in the new campus, and new campus, even the PGPs have ensuite bathrooms. Abhi, now the older alums are saying no, we don't want that. We want shared bathroom for the people, but the new generation is like, no, we want separate bathrooms. So there's that ongoing tussle is also there.
I mean, there's always a pro and con of everything, right? कि ज़्यादा लोग हैं तो जीडीपी थोड़ी सी डिफरेंट होगी versus, so it's the same conversation of India versus Sweden, right? कम लोग हैं, ज़्यादा लोग हैं, what's better? There are pros and cons of everything. Shared bathroom, ensuite, pros and cons of everything. There's privacy versus social gathering, and like you were saying about the social gathering earlier. Yeah. But what about placements, Anirudh? Placements साथ में होते हैं?
What is the fees? मतलब fees कितनी है? How much is the fees?
I'll take Vic's question first because it's shorter to answer.
हाँ, दोनों बताओ. Fees और placements में क्या difference है? Because they're all related, right?
For sure. So the fees, the IMAs, if you take the student accommodation and not the married accommodation where you get a house, is when I was there, it was 32 lakhs. And then you pay 3 lakhs more for the
32
international
lakhs for 1
immersion
year.
program
Wow.
for 1 year. Yeah, so it comes up to 35 lakhs with the mandatory international immersion. So 35 lakhs to
और
fees hai.
international immersion में मतलब?
So one semester is abroad. Our partner schools are ESCP Berlin, Paris. You can choose between them. You can choose between ESCP Berlin, Paris, or ISADE Spain, Barcelona, or Vienna's University. I think this year another school got added. So we go to Europe for one
यार मैं
semester,
इसीलिए
and
बोल रहा
then
हूँ.
we
Yeah, forgive me for saying this once again, but इसीलिए IIM Ahmedabad number 2 school है क्योंकि वो number 1 European school which is called London Business School से भी उनका partnership नहीं है.
वो तो बैंगलोर का भी
बैंगलोर
नहीं
का
है
है.
Vix.
बैंगलोर के exchange students LBS में आते हैं.
Not maybe for the 2 year, but
हाँ,
the 1
2
years
year
don't
वाले
go
आते हैं. हमारे classmates भी गए थे और अभी भी आते हैं.
there. Yeah.
Sorry, I just can't keep taking pot shots.
No, that's okay. So that is the fees in terms of placements. Because this 1 year program is targeted for mid-career professionals. The placements are also different from the 2 year. The 2 year, because a lot more freshers are there, companies that are into consulting or IB who prefer young blood would go there, and they don't really come not as much to the 2 year because they're experienced folks. So more corporates and other functions would prefer more experienced people for their roles. So the placements are also different that way. Somebody looking to grow deeper or up in the corporate ladder within their division or the function would prefer a PGPX, or somebody who wants to sort of change their industry can also come to PGPX. So more mid-senior to senior leadership positions are the kind of placements that open up with PGPX.
So how do the placements? Do you have like still like a day 0, day 1 like the PGP program, or
PGP, but
is
it's
it
not.
slightly
But
different?
it's not because it's senior people. It is not all done during the wave. We also have a rolling placement because a lot of companies open up their positions for senior leadership not just on one day, right? They will probably do
So it's more like real life.
more real life. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
and
Yeah.
of course, the students, as with any IMA, run the show. Even at PGPX, it's a student-driven thing, but we also have a corporate relationship manager and support from the placement office. And we also get, so they hire a professional management team to help with the resumes and interviews as well. So that service is also given.
So where did you get placed, and how was that experience for you, the days or whatever,
Uh,
rolling?
for me, it was very stressful. I'm going to be very open. I did not get placed during the wave, because the kind of companies that came in were not what I wanted, and what they wanted was not what I was offering. There was that mismatch. Like I interviewed for L'Oreal and some other consulting companies, but it was more of a finance focused role. And honestly, the reason I did MBA was to get out of those roles. So it didn't really work out for me. But so it was stressful to not get placed because everybody around me was placed. And I remember one of our professors had told us, give serendipity a chance. So I thought I'll just give it for once. And then randomly in February, I got a shortlist from this one fintech called Open Financial Technologies. Now it wasn't in my radar, like fintech was not. But then they really liked my profile. And they shortlisted me, and then I interviewed with their CFO and co-founder, and then with their SVP of finance. And they said, they're building a paratrooper team for the founder's office, sort of solving challenges as they come. So that really excited me, and I was like, yeah, it was a very different thing as opposed to what I was doing at KPMG. And I just took a chance, and then this has been 1 year now already, and I'm sort of heading their API and payment gateway division, something that I wouldn't have done in my previous life, like as an auditor. So I think in hindsight, it has been an exciting journey here. But yeah, it was stressful in those 2 months when I was not placed.
Yeah. So it has a mix of creativity on one side and your previous experience as a CA auditor
Yeah.
and the financial part of it.
Yeah. It all. That's why
That's
they
great.
really like my profile, because I was an IPO consultant as well, and
Hmm.
I had helped some startups with their IPO journey and things like that. So I think it sort of attracted them to my profile. Yeah.
सो हमारा ना यहाँ पर इंटरवल होता है, इंटरवल सीन है ये कि हमारी प्लेसमेंट हो गई और उसके बाद प्लेसमेंट के बाद हम एक्चुअली जाते हैं आईएम के बाद.
Right.
So
या
open for,
विक्स इज गेटिंग रेडी फॉर हिज
uh,
आईएम के
uh,
बाद
uh.
क्वेश्चन.
So one thing I found interesting, Anirudh, was did you get the pay raise that you expected? Because working in Sweden and so on, your pay must have been pretty high, right? And then you spend 35 lakhs at IIM Ahmedabad, but you said you got scholarship. So how much did you actually end up spending at IIM Ahmedabad?
So I got a 7 lakh scholarship, which I didn't really pay off my loan for. I invested it, so hopefully in the future it'll grow more and I'll pay it off. But then if you see like net, yeah, around 28 is what I would have spent at IMA.
And then you get a job with Open Financial Technology. So, like, put on your charter accountant hat right now. Was it a good financial decision, at least till now? But
For sure, like without a doubt, because Sweden doesn't pay a lot. It is not like London or US. Their salaries are, like a egalitarian society. You're not supposed to earn a lot of money, and the more you earn, the more you have to pay in taxes. So people don't want high salaries there. So I am earning more than what I used to earn in Sweden.
okay. And how much was your salary in Sweden? Like 60,000 euros, something like that?
Mm, how much was it in a month after tax? Uh, I don't recall. I think because it was in SEK, I'm not able to convert it into euros as such. But let me think. It's around it back then. It was 10 rupees per SEK. But I think it is the same for Swedish as well. If I convert, it was around 55,000 euros fixed. But then I got bonus and then other things, so that used to add.
And how is the rental expenses and so on in Sweden? When if euros fixed is like what, less euros a month, and that's like the
नहीं नहीं अगर नहीं आता है अगर वो टैक्स बोल रहा है ना जेब जेब में प्रॉब्ली 2000 आता होगा.
नहीं, I used to get in my hand. So euros आता था, उसमें से 1000 used to go for rent. बाकी 2000 I used to save. क्योंकि I was on my own and I used to cook. I realized cooking is a very big skill to have when you're abroad. So I learned, I cook very nice food. Sometimes I used to eat out. तो groceries तो बहुत आराम से manage हो जाता था. And I own a house in Hyderabad, so I used to send money for my EMI also. And my parents take care of themselves, so I didn't really have to send for them. But just for the EMI, I used to send, and the rest I used to save. So I had a good saving. And then वहाँ पे I saved enough money for my marriage also. Honeymoon, 2 honeymoons, everything were sorted there. So so it all worked out. It was pretty comfortable. And then had I stayed there and gotten promotion, it would have increased for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you're actually earning more or saving more at Open Financial Technologies in Bangalore compared to
Am
in
I
Sweden.
saving more is a good question. Probably not, because अभी education loan भी add हो गया है. So maybe not as much saving as I would had I
Uh,
stayed in Europe. But it's an investment and it's a long-term thing. I'll pay off
See,
soon the loan.
one thing that our viewers are always interested in is what was your package after you graduated? Do you feel comfortable sharing that? Like some people say they're not comfortable and we are okay, you're not sharing it, but are you?
Uh, I don't want to tell the exact number, but
Mhm.
it is north of.
And Anirudh, just one more thing on that. How does that relate to your average salary of your batch and the maximum and the minimum in your batch of PGPX?
Yeah, so one thing mix about IMA is we get an audited report, but IMB does not release. So everything is out in the open, and our median salary for the PGPX program is around 35 to 30. I think it's around 35 lakhs. Uh, that's a median, not average. Uh, so it's a pretty good salary right out of MBA for sure. But like I said, PGPX is ranked one in career progression on the third year. So the true return that you're going to get is probably when you jump jobs at least once or twice. Yeah.
ये हमेशा ना ऐसे लगता है कि अगले साल ट्रू रिटर्न मिलेगा. दिस इज ट्रू अबाउट एनी एमबीए एंड हु बेटर टू टॉक अबाउट हु इज डन 2 MBAs. वो हर बार लगता है कि यार नेक्स्ट नेक्स्ट ईयर तो पूरा रिटर्न मिलेगा एमबीए से. बट अनिरुद्ध, आई हैव टू से दिस वन थिंग दैट I loved your nice little quick about A versus B.
I'm just playing the game that you're playing, Mix.
Exactly, exactly. मजा आया, मजा आया.
Yeah. But no, so that was my experience with the program. But I know a lot of people who are not satisfied with what they got out of the program. Then again, it's an expectation mismatch, because it's not a magic bullet or a golden ticket. Doing an MBA is definitely not. The hard work starts after it, and the kind of skills that you're getting are not going to get transformed magically. It'll just enhance maybe the skills that you already were having. So that kind of expectation set should be there. Like I said, I did not have any expectations. I'm happy with it, but I know a lot of people who are not. But then again, it's an individual choice to be happy or not.
Yeah. And what you said was like, look, with uh, but if you get like 2.5 lakhs a month in India, you can live a very good life because you have someone cooking for you, you have someone driving for you. If you want those things, like that's unimaginable in the US. Like you just can't have people cooking, cleaning, and driving you around. And so the quality of life, like you started this episode by saying that for rich people in India, the quality of life can be one of the best in the world because you get so much labor that you can surround yourself with. And kind people too, like these people who come to your home to clean and so on. Very kind, very gentle. Yeah. So tell us your experience at Open Financial Technologies. Tell us a little bit about the company, how big it is, what is it doing, and how is your experience been?
So Open is a fintech startup. It's India's 100th unicorn. So their core service is a SaaS-based platform, which is for connecting your finances. It's a connected finance platform, so you can connect your banks, your ERP, your payroll system, all in one dashboard, and you can manage everything from there. The problem it is solving is not needing to log into multiple systems. Let's say you have like 10 bank accounts in 10 different banks. and then you want to make transactions. It's about logging in, putting your OTP, logging out, all that it solves by getting it into one platform. So we have a very wide suite of connected banking offering. We are a very close partner of NPCI, which is the governing body for all these new technologies in fintech, UPI, or all these other things. We're a PAPG licensee from RBI, which is basically the payment aggregator license. So we also have a payment gateway. We have other API services in terms of payout APIs or verification APIs, GST compliance APIs. So that's another division that we have. So yeah, this is the offering of Open in a nutshell. So it's still a startup, so we're still trying to build our revenues and then make it stronger. So I'm part of the founders office team here, where I got the chance in the last 1 year to work across different departments end to end in terms of executing a GTM strategy, not just strategizing. So I've made sales calls, I've been part of demos for our products. I've been part of marketing team where I ran campaigns and see how they were working, sort of experimenting with landing pages, ad copies, Google search words, what is working, what is not. Then I've also tried to we've also set up the enterprise sales team, so trying to train the SDRs, the account executives, and trying to get that right. We implemented HubSpot, which was our CRM tool, trying to get it running. So a lot of things that I got a chance to work on end to end. I was also part of the business finance team, so we were setting KPIs, trying to track it, setting up dashboards. So it was like running a mini company, and I don't think I would have gotten that opportunity anywhere. So that is what I really love about it, because now that I've seen the whole end to end and saw where we're struggling, where things are breaking down, and recently I've been asked to head this department for API and PG. I'm now able to sort of, because I have the grounds up knowledge to see where things are going wrong, because this is do or die for us. So
So
I
this
need to
experience is
bring in,
invaluable, Anirudh.
yeah. So I
This
need to.
experience, you,
It's
yeah.
really exciting. Like I get up every day and in my sleep, in my dreams, I'm thinking, how can I improve this one process? I go back the next
मेरे को
day.
लग रहा है you're working more than 12 hours a day.
I tell you, Mix, I do. I don't, and I'm not getting tired. And then these days, I'm not even sleeping properly because I'm having these thoughts. And not just this, I have to manage my content and then create content. And I'm also on TopMate, so I take a lot of mentorship sessions. So I don't know how I'm managing. I just need to make sure I don't burn out. So that's my top priority right now.
But with open finance, you are working more than 12 hours on a
No,
daily
no, no, no.
basis.
No. So as a company, we are very particular about well-being and work-life balance. So I clock out by 7, which is a very decent time in India, honestly. And I live nearby, so I don't have to get stuck in the Bangalore traffic for hours. So I reach in like 20 minutes. Uh, so yeah, that way it is good. And then I go normal time in the morning, 10:30, and then I have a very good team at work. My leadership team is very compassionate. Uh, Even my SVPs that I work with, they're like mentors and friends. So that way, it has really worked out for me. Touch wood. And yeah, I want to see where I can take this further. So
And how
I'm not.
big is the team at Open Financial Technologies?
So we have around 300 employees in total. Uh, but yeah, most of them are in the tech team.
And is it has it already broken even, or is it still working towards that as a
We're still
startup?
working towards it. Yeah.
Okay,
And
okay.
where are you
So,
on your fundraising? Series A, B, C,
So
D?
so we are in Series B. Last so our investors are Google, Visa, Temasek, and all the biggies. Uh, so I think the last it was raised was in 2022. So we still have a good runway. Right now, it's trying to bring the revenues. Like we have different sectors. We have another segment called Banking Stack. We power the internet banking for two of the top private banks in the country. I don't want to name them, but we power their internet banking. So if somebody wants to build their internet banking, Open is the name in the market.
That's good. That's really good. I think from what you just described, that you're heading for bigger pastures very soon. And if you've got runway from a 2022 fundraising, that means that, as Vix was asking, break even and all that. I think you're like, even if you're not technically broken even, if you've got a 3 year you've not run out of cash, that's the best thing for anything before IPO.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, our CFO is very particular about all these things, and then we work very closely with her. The strategy comes out from the CFO office as well. So yeah, yeah. But yeah, it is go time for us because our product is really good, and it's just we're just waiting for that moment to take off. Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. So open financial technologies, you reached here and all that, but you just mentioned, if I remember, that you don't have 12-hour work days, but you're probably working more than 12 hours because of your creative pursuits.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. So क्या हुआ, once I graduated, I had put up my graduation reel on Instagram. Till then I was like sort of my personal blog के लिए I used to use my Instagram, just used to put my travel stuff, and even during IMA I had deleted Instagram. At the end of each term I used to download, and I used to put up a reel for that one term. But because I was the media and marketing secretary, I used to record a lot of uh, content for our unofficial IMA page. So I had like this 10 GB of content with me that I could use now. So I just put up my graduation reel, and then it went viral. Uh, and then I put up my next reel, CA to IMA. That got me 9,000 followers in one reel. So I'm like, uh, this might be something good. So then I kept the machine running, I kept making content, and then I started getting brand deals as well. Once I crossed the 15K mark. So, and then a lot of people started DMing me for advice. A lot of commerce students, like, what should I do? I'm confused between these options. Can you guide me? Or MBA students trying to understand how the program works and things like that. And I used to attend to all those DMs honestly, because I always wanted to help people that way, because I never got that sort of advice myself, because I had nobody to reach out to back then, because there was no platform like this. So I started helping out, and then I then created a top mate page where I started the mentorship service for a small fee, and profile reviews and things like that, and that took off. And I started booking a lot of calls there. So a lot of my weekends go into these mentorship sessions as well. So that's where a lot of my time goes. And then recently, TopMate reached out to me to hold a webinar for 1 year MBA. TopMate. So TopMate, it's an Indian company where similar to Stan Store in the US, where you can offer your services online in terms of webinars or your digital products, or all these. It helps you solve the problem of getting bookings and then managing your Zoom calls and things like that. So they reached out to me to conduct a webinar on 1 year MBA, and I recently put that. I was working on that today to make the reel out, and then it went live today on their page as well. And I started booking, and people started registering for the webinars. I'm like, wow, people actually want to do this, and they're paying me for it.
So
So
tell
yeah, that
me,
is.
what was your revenue on Top Mates? How much money did you make on Top Mates?
So I started just last week, and because I didn't want to charge an exorbitant fee, I only charged like $300 for a session. So far, I have made 4K out of it, so it's not
Wow.
substantial.
So
But
at
then
least
that was
15
not the aim.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
around 15 people paid to
Yes.
ask you for a consulting session on Top Mates. And tell us
Yeah.
about your brand deals on Instagram. What has been your revenue?
So I'm very particular about the kind of brand deals I want to do. I get a lot of messages from these I would say new age B schools, which I do not, because the advice I give to people is, if you want to do an MBA, do only from the top B schools. So I always choose not to take up those brand deals from these sort of people, that as I've put a rule for myself. So I don't get a lot of edtech sort of deals, but I did a brand collaboration with MBA Wala for the cat coaching, because that is still a fair thing to do. For that, for one, generally people don't say it out loud, but I'm saying it. But I earned like 25K out of it
Okay,
for one reel.
okay,
So I'm like, wow.
okay. So, but one reel, the whole reel was about them, or you only talked about
No,
them
it
for a
was an
part of the reel?
integration for a part of it.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but still, like content creators, it still is a passion project, right? It nowhere matches. your
No, no,
compensation in the corporate world.
it's not. But then it's an investment, right? I don't know what's going to come out of it. I don't have any expectation, but I want to keep contributing to it. It's like how I would
Sure.
invest in an SIP.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. How you'd invest in an SIP. You don't do it for today, you do it for the future, and you just do it
Yeah,
every month.
yeah.
So tell us about your personal life, Anirudh, a little bit. How is that going?
Right. So I got married 3 years ago. My wife just finished her medical residency. She's a pediatrician. She's moved to Bangalore, so we're hoping that she finds something soon. Uh, yeah, so that's been up with my personal life. I hope I get to travel soon this year. On my wish list is Japan and South Korea. I really want to go explore those countries. So yeah, that's the plan right now for me.
Very good, very good. And you've visited 30 countries, right? Have you been
Yeah.
to the US already or no?
Yeah. US was an easy thing because most of my relatives are there, so I just need to go
Okay.
crash into their places. So most of them are on the East Coast.
Mm,
So yeah, New Jersey, New York, Boston,
mm, mm,
Dallas, and in Austin. Yeah.
mm. Very nice, very nice. So, what's next for you? Like, are you planning to stay with open technologies for some time? And because I
Yes.
think you're
Yes.
learning quite a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now that
Yes,
I'm able to lead the division, I want to grow in that function and the role. I want to
yes,
learn more. That is the objective, and
yes.
hopefully bring good things to the company.
Very nice, very nice. And chalo, so I have run out of questions. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask, like, what drives you guys? What wakes you up every day and keeps you excited?
So, I think the answers will be different from Meglani and me. For me, if you ask me, I have my life is an arc, and at this point in my arc, it's about my family. Like I'm 47 now, and like what gets me excited is, what am I going to do this weekend with my daughter and with my wife, and where are we going to go, and what beautiful thing we're going to see. It has been very different. Like 10 years ago, it was about earning money, and 10 years before that, maybe it was about education. So that for me is what keeps me moving forward. Miglani can speak for himself, obviously, but he's one of the best investors I know. So he's the best. Like he has a very unique perspective to look at companies from. He likes helping small startups become big. I don't know, Miglani, what keeps you going?
Keeps me going, I think you summarized it, is what keeps me going today could be different from yesterday and tomorrow. It's about just living life. Uh, and today, or rather in the last few years, and probably in the next few years, it's about family. Definitely, I wish I had thought about that way before I started thinking about family. Uh, and that's about it, because it's like you were saying, it's about the social circles, it's about who we are part of, and why you came back to India. That's and we realize that when we are out of India is when we don't have enough, and say, whether it's Vix or me, we have never been in like a place which is like as low populated as Sweden, right? Even then, I mean, I'm in London, he's in San Francisco, Bay Area. It's still, we still have people around us, and we don't have 6 hours. He doesn't ever. I have only three months of darkness, or actually 1.5 months, but maybe it's 3 months of bad. But yeah, Anirudh, what I was saying is that we have less darkness than Sweden, and I can appreciate it more, having lived in this country for 17 years now. Is It's very difficult for me to explain to my friends and family who have never lived here. I mean, I'm not talking about tourism, because tourism, people come and visit in the best weather always, and they are always more excited. It's about living. It's about things like, which I know that you were talking about. It's about domestic help that we are used to as Indians, कि यार कोई बर्तन धो देगा. अब पता चलता है, ठीक है. People out in India say कि डिश वॉशर है तो क्यों नहीं धोते हो? एंड देन आई फील कि यार उसमें अंदर रखना तो पड़ता है। Right now, I've gotten used to it now. But I'm talking about 15 years ago. I wasn't used to these things कि बर्तन
Yeah,
रखने पड़ते हैं, सिंक में डाल दिए, अब सिंक से डिश वॉशर में कौन डालेगा? Someone,
yeah.
you're used to it.
Yeah,
And it's about, and maybe we were spoiled because of that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
So that's the thing, and I'm so happy and glad and to hear your story about uh, how you got used to it, how you saw the positive, and actually went back to India. And I'm
yeah,
glad, especially because I had the same thoughts, but then we had kids, and it's very difficult to uproot kids where they are
yeah,
going to school and all that. So
yeah.
at least in the until my kids are in school, I can't go back to India and uproot them.
No, no, I get that because once you have your own family, then it changes everything.
Yeah.
When you're on your own, then the pull is stronger to India.
And the value of family increases when you're away from family, and that's true about everything. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, thank you so much for being on our channel and sharing your personal story. What we try to do is have IIM graduates like you to share their professional story, but also the personal story, because people think IIM graduate, they're all the same. No, we are all different, and we are all different in our own unique way. And our channel, like you were asking earlier, is that's what we want to portray in our channel, that here are IIM success stories, and success stories don't only mean कि ये गूगल का सीईओ बन गया or whatever, IAS officer हो गया. Some of them are successful professionally, some are successful personally, some are successful in just meeting the personal and professional balance, and everyone is a success in our own rights. And that's that's what we are here for. And yeah, thank you for sharing your story, Anirudh.
Thank you, Megs, for this opportunity. I really enjoyed our session talking through things.